Chapter -4 Performance Observation 4.1 Introduction. Drama needs a stage for its performance. In other words, without a stage there is no drama. Listening to a radio drama is not considered as a drama in its fullest sense. To impress the audience emotionally, whether the drama may be classic or general or folk drama or puppet show, whatever it may be, stage is a prerequisite. The term used for the purpose theatre itself indicates the requirement of stage. There may be different dimensions, see photo number 1 to 141, as far as the size is concerned. Not only stage dimensions but also patterns of stages also differ variedly. Usually the stages of general and classical dramas are big in size. Stages prepared for folk theatre are of small size. The folk drama can be enacted within the space available for its performance. Depending on the dimensions of the stage, see photo numbers 82 to 87, the performance either enlarge its scope or squeeze in its requirements suited to the space available. In the case of puppet shows, the performances are done on a comparatively small stage, but it has a fixed stage. Therefore, the aspects relating to stage such as quality, scope, characteristics, and existence can be looked at from the point of view of the purpose of the stage and its dignity and decline. These aspects also need to be compared with the similar elements of the other theatrical forms. The puppeteers arranged the stage with bamboos and with dhotis using as curtains 3 sides. There will be one screen used front side of the stage which facilitates puppet presentation. See photo numbers 65 to 141. Page 199. Puppet theatre stage. I. Screen 2. Light 3. Tarball cover 4. Screen pole 5. Bottom. The dimensions of the stage will be rectangular, and size will be very small. The performance of puppet show is given through the screen only. The inside coverage or area of the stage is 8 feet wide and 5 feet in length. Its height will be 7 feet. In the case of folk dramas, the stage is nearly 14 feet wide and 10 feet length. 3. Folk stage. Page 200. In the general dramas, the stage will be covered on 3 sides, but both top and the front sides are kept open. This open side can be used for the presentation and the audience observe the play through this side. Point 4. But in the case of puppet theatre it is quite different. It shall not have opening and it is a unique in its arrangement. It therefore attains a peculiarity because of the fourth wall of the stage. Though it may be closed, it will be used for the presentation of the performance. The performers used to give the puppet show performance through this fourth wall, which is covered by the screen. The closing of stage like this will facilitate not to see the instrumentalists, the performers, lights, puppets, and the space in middle stage by the audience. Point 5. Then the arrangements are not good on the stage. Of folk and general dramas, the performance in the open stage cannot get the success. Point 6. The stage influence can also dominate the performance. Sometimes it can also give the poor opinion of the performance to the audience, even if the performance is good. The folk dramas are the example for it, whereas in the case of puppet theatre this stage influence or domination may have little scope for such a situation. The size of the stage in page 201. The puppet theatre is consultant, whereas in the case of folk dramas and general dramas it is adjustable. the question of compromisation in the screen adjustment in the puppet theatre cannot be seen. Covering of stage like this is very convenient to the performers to move freely either side of stage, i.e. to sit, to stand, to lay down etc., because they are not to be seen by the audience. In the case of dramas, the performers move freely when the front curtain is closed. 9 The instrumentalists and other performers in the puppet shows move freely behind the curtain when the performance is going times on. The puppeteers take advantage of this situation and give training to their children behind the screen, and even sometimes to the old artistes used to sit inside the stage. 10 Inside area of the stage is also used to keep the properties too by the puppeteers. Therefore the stage for a while is nothing but a home for them at the time of performance. The audience cannot see anything except the puppets and their performance from the puppet theatre stage. In the case of folk and general theatres the situation is altogether different, where the entire stage area, settings, instruments and lights can be seen clearly. 11 This open stage system works for diversion of the audience concentration from the observation of performance in the other theatres. 12 But in puppet stage there is no scope for such diversion. The theatres of all categories use the stage as top covered. The puppeteers always maintain the times same stage measurements, see photo numbers 84 to 87, even though they got better and big stage facilities. 13 Whereas the folk and general dramas utilize the whole area as stage when they got an opportunity of big stage. 4. Stage arrangement and beginning process. The scholar visited Nimala Kunta village of Anantapur district of Andhra Pradesh on 4 January, 1989 and requested the puppeteers 14 for the leather puppet show performance. They agreed for the performance. The puppeteers of that village by caste are Marathis built a co-operative society, see photo number 101, colony with the help of government. They formed as a cooperative society to manufacture the puppets and to export them to foreign countries via Bombay. Some of them go to performances and all of them were members of that society. The researcher asked for their performance at their colony. They obliged. Nearly by 7 p.m., the gents of that group brought the stage equipment and firstly they poled 2 bamboos in the front line. The poled bamboos were 8 feet in length and 8 feet width. Another 2 bamboos were poled parallel to the front bamboos with a distance of 5 feet. This 5 by 8 feet area was the total stage for them. These 4 bamboos were tied up on all the 4 sides by thread connecting the top edges. Then this took a rectangular shape. The top portion of this tied-up bamboos were covered with the tarbal and all the sides were covered with clothes excepting the front. Light thin white cloth was tied in the front portion and this was used as the screen for the performance of puppets. The face of the stage was arranged towards the east. They have a traditional belief in arranging their stage, facing in all sides, except west. 15 4 electric bulbs were arranged in front of the stage and 2 were inside the stage. The stage was built in the central place of their street, and it was neat and clean. Page 203. Puppet show stage. 1. Screen 2. Screen pole 3. Light 4. Puppet basket 5. Cymbals 6. Mat 7. Mrudangam 8. Cot 9. Dapu 10. Harmonium. They planned to gather audience and sent a 10-year-old boy for publicity about the performance. He went round the area with a dapu, drum, to give chitimpu, announcement, in the village. The cooperative society colony was 1.5 km away from the village. 16 That boy was accompanied by 4 boys of the same age group, and they reached the stage after completion of their job by 8:00 p.m. The hair on the head of these boys was like dancing up and down, depicting their mood coming to the place of performance. Their walking pattern was very enthusiastic and they appeared very dynamic. The researcher was observing the stage, during the time, which was just finished. Romapa, 65-years-old man, was fully drunk and scolding the group members in their absence, who avoided his advices in building the stage. He came to the researcher and told that, if the stage was facing northern side in the middle front of 2 houses, the curtains and tarbal won't shake and help air disturbance controlled. But nobody cared about his words. The wind speed was very high and the curtains were shaking. Page 204. Pedavadi Matata Vindamani under Narmada. Mr. Romapa scolded in front of me with unparliamentary words. He told that he was ordering to remove the stage to rearrange. I told him that to remove and rearrange was not advisable at that time. He moved aside and sat for some time. Multi-plugging was arranged to an electric bulb to plug in tape recorder conveniently. They arranged a cot inside in the southern side of the stage. The children and a group of the women were coming to see the show. They inquired the performers about the performance. The performers welcomed them and they sat somewhere in front of somebody's house from where the front part of the stage is seen. At 8:15 p.m., the puppeteers came on to the stage. Saroda, anchor woman of that group, entered into the stage with the puppet basket on her head, and Rama Krishna, her husband who followed her, helped her to keep the puppet basket on the floor. The basket has been made up by bamboo material and covered like a box. All varieties of puppets are kept inside that basket. The basket was brought from the society office. They kept the puppets basket 7 at the cooperative society office along with manufacturing material. They adjusted the cot half inside the stage and half outside the stage, which was arranged on the southern side of the stage. They kept the basket beside the cot. It occupied the central part of the inside stage. This basket has been 4 feet length and 2.5 feet width. Though the puppets were 6 feet in size, they were kept folded inside the basket. The jointing parts of the puppets like hands, legs and head were linked 18 by thread. This facilitates the puppets to be folded easily at the joint places. Dalavai Romapa, the elder person of that group, sat near the screen and applied the turmeric and kumkuma, saffron, at the bottom of the screen. Then they broke 2 coconuts inside the stage near the screen and Romapa and page 205. Before performance. Page 206. Page 207. Ramankrishna paid devotionally namaskaras with folded hands. The top portion, cover, of the basket has been removed and kept in a cumma. Subsequently, they took over the puppets from the basket which were to be introduced in the very beginning and kept them in the cover and hanged some of them on the back curtain. 14-year girl sat on a folding iron chair in the back middle part of the stage, which was very close to back curtain of the stage. She was tuning the harmonium arranged on a stool. Screen was in the east. A wooden plank 19 was arranged near the bottom of the screen. This can be used with legs to create a musical sound and noise according to rhythm. The main singer of that event always stands in keeping one leg on the wooden plank near the screen. One bonta, cloth bed, was laid down in the center and one Medela 20 instrument was kept to operate it in the performance. One pair of Talalu 21, cymbals, were laid down by the side of Medela on the cloth. The dapu, drum, 22 was hanged inside on the top of the stage. After completion of the stage arrangements, the total stage was like this. 1. Pup 1 basket 2. Basket upper cover 3. Harmonium. 4. Medela 5. Cymbals 6. Cot 7. Bottom plot of wooden flant 8. Wooden flant 9, 10, 11, 12. Stage boundaries. Page 208. 4.3 Process before performance. By 8:30 p.m. the audience came and settled thereby sitting in front of the stage. Children, women, men and aged people gathered there and was seen as there appeared full of audience. The process began for the performance with the arrival of the basket. Firstly, Romapur applied turmeric and kumkuma, saffron, to the screen at the bottom and broke 2 coconuts near the screen. They prayed the god with folded hands and with the closed eyes by standing near the screen. Then the elder, Romapur, opened basket and took over the puppets from the basket and hanged them on the back curtain with thrones 23. He kept 3 puppets in the cover of the basket which he should bring them in the very beginning to the screen. A 14-year-old girl sat on an iron chair and was tuning the harmonium 14 Shruti. One 35 years aged man sat on the banta adjusting the Medela Shruti. One lady stood near the Medela man operating the talalu, cymbals. One man had beaten the dapu, drum, with his hand stick speedily. That gave the dab-dab-da-dab sound, and that was the signal sound for the beginning of the performance. Romapur, Saroda tied the anklets to their right legs, and they have to press the wooden plank with these legs. Except Romapur, Saroda, Ramonkrishna, and the teenaged girl, the remaining 3 members took betel leaf into their mouths. All the elders of that group and children came inside the stage. Romapur the elder man took the Jenish puppet, see photo number 88, and kept on the screen with thorns. All the instrumentalists operated the instruments at a time and the total troupe cried once with the devotion as Namu, Namu, Namu. Then the dapu was beaten speedily and Romapur took the Vinayaka puppet into his hands and manipulated the Ganesh puppet with prayer song. The situation before the prayer song was very clear and page 209. Disciplined. All the artistes and the undergoing training children took their positions like a well-rehearsed stage artists. See photo number 107. They maintained silence when Mr. Romapur began the devotional process. Everybody observed keenly the process with devotion. Though they took their positions in natural methods that scene can be observed as well-rehearsed one. But that was the traditional discipline and nobody can deviate it under any circumstances. The professionalism was observed in them by the scholar irrespective of their age and experience in that troupe. Mr. Kulayapa spit out of chewing of betel leaf from his mouth under the bontha, cloth, which was under him, and another lady was taking the betel leaf with lime into her mouth, but there was no disturbance from them, and silently they followed the prayer, and they were in their business. 4.4 Performers' performance on the stage. 2 coconuts were broken as the symbol of the prayer, and Romapa draw the mantrakshara, with saffron on the bottom edge of the screen and on the stone. The backside of the stage, which was west of the stage, a 14-year girl was seated with harmonium and was observing carefully. She was given signal by Romapa and started to give Shruti. See photo number 108. Romapa moved towards basket from the screen after completion of puja and separated 3 puppets which were to be played at the first on the screen. He moved around the stage for searching a place to keep them somewhere. The hanged drum in the northwestern side of the stage was beaten by Govindu to attract the audience from the village. Romapa stopped himself and observed the drum beating and satisfied himself. He moved to one side and hanged the puppet. Page 210. Page 211. Some cloth carpet bonta which stitched with old cloths laid down in the middle of the stage. An artiste with mridangam was seated on the cloth carpet. He was chewing the betel leaf and enjoying with half-closed eyes. Saroda and Romapa tied the anklet bells to their right legs. Rangama, a woman, was taking lime with betel leaf into her mouth. Venkataya, who was doing Shruti adjustment to the mridangam, spit out the betel leaf from his mouth under the cloth carpet. The harmonium girl was observing all these by searching the feelings on researcher's face. Romapa moved towards Rangama and collected the betel leaf from her and took it into his mouth. Adjustments of all instruments were made ready. 10 members occupied their respective positions inside the stage. When Romapa was manipulating the Ganesh puppet, all the artistes became alert and consciously came into the professional mood. The other artistes sang the prayer song. Romapa manipulated the puppet according to the music of the song. He kept his right leg on the plank, and pressed the bottom of the plank with his left leg. When he touched the other edge of the plank with his right leg, it gave noise. He operated the plank according to the dance of the Vinayaka. See photo number 111. He caught the puppet sticks with his left hand and middle part at joints with the right hand and manipulated. All the other artistes participated in prayer song as chorus. See photo number 112. Saroda brought the Saraswati puppet to the screen after Ganesh puppet dancing and singing. All the other artistes followed the signal of Saroda and participated in the Saraswati prayer. Saroda introduced Bangaraka puppet with dancing along with a song like Tagadadi Madana. Rangama stood somewhere and sang as Vanta song Oyama, 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 Oyama. Ramankrishna brought the page 212 Ketigadu puppet to the screen. Saroda and Ramankrishna manipulated the puppets. See photo number 11. Ramankrishna did not wear the anklet bells. Saroda operated the plank with her leg, even Ramankrishna manipulating the puppets. Actually, that was the romantic scene of Ketigadu and Bangaraka. But that scene appeared like a romantic scene of Saroda and Ramankrishna, who were wife and husband inside the stage. The movements on the screen between Ketigadu and Bangaraka and movements on the stage between Ramankrishna and Saroda appeared as same. They were influenced by these sexual dialogues. They were observed by all the artistes inside the stage. When they observed the researcher, their smiling gestures have faded out silently from their face. After that scene, one girl brought one puppet and two women brought two puppets to the screen. One boy brought the Rama puppet, Govindu, Ramankrishna, and Saroda manipulated the Rama, Lakshmana and Sita puppets. See photo number 118. Saroda herself sang Sita's total portion. Rangama suddenly stood up and brought and manipulated the golden deer. See photo number 117. Ramappa and Ramankrishna followed the golden deer as Rama and Lakshmana. Later Rama Krishna brought the Jangamaya puppet to the screen. Soon after this scene, 10-headed Ravana puppet was introduced. Everybody's eyes searched for Dalavai Govindu for that 10-headed Ravana puppet manipulation, and he came and operated that. He was expert in introducing that puppet. Till then he was operating Medela. Sita questioned Jangamaya as how many heads you have to ask me. This was in the sense of how dare you are. Then answer was very interesting with vigorous voice. See me, how many heads I have. And vigorous laughing as ha 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 ha. Ha. See. 10 heads, see photo numbers 126 to 130, and laughing as ha. Aha, ha. And fearful laugh. When Govindu's body was observed that his total body was laughing. I thought at that moment he was only man in that. Page 213. Troop to act like that way. Govindu came back to his seat after 10-headed Ravana's puppet portion was over. Ramankrishna introduced Jatayuvu on the screen. Then the war between Ravana and Jatayuvu was manipulated by Ramappa and Ramankrishna. Ramappa waited there to join for the war scene with single-headed Ravana puppet. It was observed different behavior of Ramappa than Ramankrishna in the war scene. Really it appeared as real quarrel between Ramappa and Ramankrishna. Ramappa pulled Ramankrishna's left hand and beat with his puppet, Ravana, on the puppet of Ramankrishna. Ramankrishna also reacted with his puppet, Jatayuvu, and moved on the same way. Ramappa, an aged old man, appeared as a powerful and strong man, and he showed all his strength upon Ramankrishna. He had wine before starting the play, resultantly showed his over-enthusiasm to present his strength. After the war scene, Ramankrishna manipulated the Rama puppet and all the artistes including Ramappa followed as Vanta, chorus. Rangama with cymbals, Srada and Ramappa were standing very nearer to the Ramankrishna, and it indicated that they have to help him in manipulating the puppets. Then the scene was the Sugriva's court. All the artistes helped in manipulating the puppets to Saroda and Ramankrishna, who took the main role in conversation. Hanuman puppet was introduced by Ramankrishna. Almost all the major male characters with verses, conversations, dialogues were manipulated by Ramankrishna, and female characters were manipulated by Saroda. Now and then Saroda manipulated some main male character too in conversation with Ramankrishna. Then Vali and Sugriva war scene was manipulated by Ramappa only. There was no dialogue or conversation in that war scene, and he managed that Dwandwa Yudham with. Page 214. Puppets with his two hands. Ramappa was very busy in that war scene, creating sounds with his mouth like ha-hoo and producing loud noise by pressing the plank under his legs, and fighting with each other with his two hands. The children were given training in that performance, particularly in sorrowful events, slow-motion situations, slow conversations. One girl was given training in verse and all remaining were given only in puppet manipulating. One 10-year-old boy was standing half an hour with the puppet without moving or shaking near the screen. That was the beginning point in the training process. After some period they will be learnt manipulating the puppets with voice. Voice would be given by elders. Venkatama, 10 years girl, manipulated the Mandadari puppet. Rangama gave voice to that character. All the artistes inside the stage observed Venkatama how she was doing the job. Mangama, 14-year-old girl, was sent near the screen by her father Ramankrishna. He took the charge of harmonium some time. Mangama sang some verses and songs for the imprisoned Sita puppet. Small puppet of Hanuman was introduced in the way to go to Lanka. Ramappa came into the field very enthusiastically and he was the master to do gimmicks in the performance. Small Hanuman puppet was shown in different positions by jumpings, monkey actions and tricks by Ramappa. Audience, particularly the children, raised their voices with happiness by seeing small Hanuman puppet. Ramappa too increased his actions as a reaction for the audience response. Lankini, a giant demon lady puppet, was introduced by Ramankrishna in watching position in Lanka. Ramappa immediately introduced the Kettigadu, see photo number 124, puppet and dragged into the sexual conversation with Lankini. Ramankrishna tried to avoid the unparliamentary language and, page 215, warned Ramappa cut short the dialogues and conversations. Ramappa didn't obey his commands and was not in a listening mood. He was not able to stand at least and the liquor was controlling his brain. Ramankrishna with all his might pulled Ramappa to the side and closed that scene. The artistes and children who were inside the stage moved out one by one due to the ugly behavior of Ramappa. Govindu, Venkataya, Ramappa, Ramankrishna, Kulayappa, all were the troop leaders and they all tried to show me their talents in that performance. But Ramappa dominated all the artistes and he did not give a chance to anybody. Last scene of firing Hanuman's tail and burning the Lanka was manipulated by Ramankrishna and Saroda. They finished the show with that. Lastly, all gathered inside the stage and involved in the Mangala Harathi, which was the closing prayer song of the performance. Then they all worked in removing the stage curtains, collecting the puppets and instruments and took away to their society office. The researchers' observation is that mostly the puppet show performance was a collective and teamwork and no individual can do with individual effort to give the performance. All the artistes know everything of that performance. I.e., any artiste can do or can play anything in that performance. 25 They were disciplined artistes and everybody gives respect to their elders. They given preference to the elders, whatever they may be, and they follow the footsteps of the elders. They would not try to dominate the others and they have good professional thinking, decent behavior between each of them, sincerely in working and patch up knowledge at any moment. 6 Everybody should. Page 216. Know everything about the performance has been observed as basic philosophy or this performance. 4.5 Artistes participated in the performance. 1. Dalavai Romappa. 2. Vanarasa Ramankrishna. 3. Vanarasa Govindu. 4. Vanarasa Saroda. 65 years old, experienced male puppeteer. Singer and manipulator. He dominated the troupe. 50 years old, experienced male professional puppeteer. Singer, narrator and manipulator. He occupied in the second place in the performance. 55 years old, experienced male puppeteer. He helped in all events to give the puppets timely. Singer-musician and manipulator. 40 years old woman, wife of Ramankrishna. She held main women roles. Manipulator singer. Singer and good chorus. 5. Dalavai Rangama. 6. Venkatama. 50 years old woman, chorus singer, cymbal player, manipulator and co-singer. 10 years girl, daughter of Govindu, chorus singer, cymbal player and learner. 217. 7. Mangama 14 years girl, daughter of Ramankrishna, played harmonium co-singer, sometimes chorus singer and also a learner. 8. Sindar Kulayapa. 40 years old, experienced male drummer, he played mridangam. 9. Dalavai Chalapati. 45 years old, cymbal player, singer and helper. 10. Dalavai Venkatappa. 60 years old male drummer, singer, manipulator and scene setter. 4.6 Performative strategies. The aim of this division is to observe the strategies appeared in the puppet theatre. Puppet performers are performing the Indian mythological stories since long time. The capacity of an art form attracts the audience again and again. Leather puppet show performances also have the same quality to attract the audience. The performers of puppet theatre selected new method of presentation, i.e., secular. 27 They introduced the puppets for mythological characters along with the literature and instruments. 1 or 2 social characters were also introduced, see photo numbers 116 and 124, 135, 136, who tagged the public and the performers and performance. 28 Through these social characters, the performers express their wanting, techniques, desires, feelings in a smooth manner and would-be solve the problems. It captures the hearts of the people. Page 218. In this performance, the strategy what they followed to see the success of the performance was very clear. In the beginning the external lights were stopped and the lights inside the stage were only on in the entire colony. Firstly, they maintained the silence and they started puja program. The elder man has written on the bottom of the screen with turmeric and saffron and broke 2 coconuts. Before sitting into puja, the dapu was beaten with high pace and it gave the sound as dab 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 with loud noise. It was the symbol of their style of starting the performance. That was a good marker and the audience were settled thereby sitting who gathered there. The children hurriedly came near to screen and Saturday. Romappa picked up Ganesh puppet and fixed it, see photo number 139, on the screen with thorns. All the artistes inside the stage cried as Namo Namu, Namu, and operated all the instruments. That gave great noise and that leads to commit the audience to do namaskara to the Lord _Ganesh, see photo numbers 111-112. The audience from the village were coming after these dapu beating and the prayer noise. These are all the tricks to attract the audience. Romappa started the performance by manipulating the Ganesh puppet. He read the Vishnu Stotram as Govinda, Narayana, and concluded. All the instruments in the stage were operated at once to attract and alert the audience with time's eagerness. The stotram was ended with the mukta ainpu as Tirigidakathim, Tirigidakathim, Tirigidakatho. Then he sang the prayer verse. Tondamu nekadanthamunu. Tarapu bojjayu varmahastamunu menduga gajelu mroyaganu. Meloni chupulu mandahasam. Page 219. Which expresses the physique resumption of Vaneswara. See photo numbers 111 and 112. Then he explained each and every word with the meaning and analysis detailed by showing the nose, teeth etc., with hand stick for easy understanding of the audience. Mostly the audience are illiterates, so that the explanation and analysis were in colloquial and can be understood easily. After this verse a noise of woman's voice as ah was followed with raga, and then they ended by tatadai, tathadai, tatadai as mukta impu. Then they sang prayer song as Gananata Brovavaya Gananata Ni Ivu, and was followed by the others as Vanta, and concluded with the mukta impu as Dimitta, Dimitta, and Dimitta. One main female singer, Saroda, stood there to give help to Romappa. Without introducing any puppet, Lord Shiva was praised and prayed by songs and slokas. After completion of Ganesh prayer, the leader Romappa hinted about Saraswati prayer. Audience guessed about Saraswati's coming and were eagerly waiting. The leader Romappa was ending the Ganesh scene by the words, Tatai, Tajhana, Tajhana Atata, while the artistes inside the stage were welcoming Saraswati by a colloquial word Sugatam, i.e., Swagatam. Audience felt that was their welcome by the word Sugatam. Saraswati puppet was introduced by female artiste Saroda, and the questioning her was very heartfulness. The way in which it was introduced was very attracting on the part of artistes, i.e., Amar. Who are you? Why are you coming here? Was one's dialogue, and another one woman said the answer as I am wife of Brahmadeva. While going to Bulokam, I am just coming to give my wishes to the visiting audience of that. Page 220. Performance. Generally the conversation in the puppet theatre was in between the two puppets or characters. Whereas in the prayer scenes Ganesh and Saraswati puppets were manipulated as individuals and questions were posed by the artistes inside the stage directly. Mampahi, Majaya Jnani, Mjaya Janan, Varavina Pustaka Poni. This was the prayer song sang by the artistes on the middle meter along with the instruments operations. The performers introduce the Ganesh prayer in all the folk dramas in India, particularly in Andhra Pradesh. 28 Some art troupe introduce Ganesh doll in Vidi Natakam. 29 Someone introduces Ganesh with mask. 32 Pu Bhagavatam introduces the Ganesh character. 31 And that will be brought by two persons using a screen with more instruments to alert the audience to evoke eagerness. The way of introducing Ganapati is traditional and devotional. The artistes try to create a kind of ritual mood. If that sentiment works out, their main purpose of performance will be successful. Chiratali, Ramayanam introduces Ganesh by an actor. 32 in Chindu Natakam, 31 Vidi Bhagavatam and Chenchu Natakam. 33 simply sing the prayer song of Ganesh without any character in physical appearance. Story is narrative form like Burakatha, 33 Ogakatha, 34 Jangam Katha, 35 Runja Katha, 36 Saradakatha, 37 also sing the prayer song of Ganapati in a dramatic way. Scroll narratives 38, scroll paintings, Kakapadagalu, Tela Shirala Kathalu 39 have Ganapati figures on the scrolls and do Ganapati prayer by showing the Ganesh figure on the scroll. Mostly the folk art forms try to create a page 221 ritual atmosphere in the very beginning of this Ganesh prayer. It helped to keep the audience to sit throughout the performance with ritualistic involvement. That secures the respect towards the artiste together with financial benefit. Karnataka Yakshaganam Tenkititu 40 introduces the Ganesh and Saraswati for prayer. Shambhu Hegde always introduces two characters in his Tenkititu Yakshaganam. In Andhra Pradesh there cannot be seen anywhere in any folk drama introduces Saraswati except for this puppet theatre. At the end of the prayer the main artiste tried to convert the audience to devotional feelings and somehow managed to succeed. All dramas have a tradition that the Sutradhara hints about the play and the performance as Nandi and Prastavana. 42 Here this puppet performers hinted about the play through Saraswati as she came to observe the performance and audience. Saraswati announced the name of the play as Lankadahanam and the scene was shifted. Then Ramappa announced that they were going to bring Kettigadu and Bangaraka. This strategy declared that the audience will get good humorous entertainment. Particularly the children enjoy a lot with those characters. When this announcement came the Vanta artiste asked Ramappa with loud voice that call urgently, and that shows the Vanta asking on behalf of the audience. That appeared as a feeling of audience and that call has been their representation. Bangaraka is coming and do you know how she is coming? This was a trick played by the performer to create an eagerness the audience. They introduced Bangaraka with romantic song and dialogues. Saroda manipulated the Bangaraka puppet, see photo number 116, with humorous and informal dialogues. Then Ramaleshna came to the screen with Kettigadu. Bangaraka and Kettigadu were wife and husband and humorous puppets. The performers praised the audience by Somal names for helping the performance through conversation between. Page 222. Bangaraka and Kettigadu characters. They utilized the situation to express their problems, their social conditions, their poverty, and to say something good about the helping hands. Firstly they started praising, then moved to historical evidence of puppeteers and kings like Sri Krishnadeva and shifted into sociological conditions of the society, and the greatness of the art form and finally ended with the present story hint. After praising some humorous and joking conversation mixing with sexual dialogues went on between Bangaraka and Kettigadu. The audience absorbed these dialogues with over-enthusiasm. Ramappa, who was inside observing the audience, feelings keenly hearing the comments of the audience. Vidi Natakam, Yakshaganam, Chindu, Vidi Bhagavatam. Like all the drama forms, introduce humorous characters, one or two, according to their availability and necessity, to give the relaxation to the performers and the audience. They give names like Saheb, Mantri, Asagadu, Khan, etc., according to their area dialects to these humorous characters. But most of the dramas introduce only one male character, 43, whereas in the puppet theatre there can be seen two humorous characters, male and female, and also as wife and husband. 41. All the folk dramas call the humorous characters in the middle of the drama 45, and whereas in the puppet shows they can be appeared from first scene itself. 46. It gives a clue that the puppeteers identified the importance of those secular characters, and they are maintaining that balance for their survival. During this manipulation, all the artistes felt relaxed. But they were observing the laughings of the audience. Someone cried and demanded to begin the story. Then the rested artistes who were relaxing have been alerted to resume their duties. The conversation was diverted from the sexual. Page 223. Jokes to the story of that day and explained all episodes of Ramayana, and finally intend that they are now to perform Lankadahanam for that day. Again someone demanded from the audience to begin the story immediately. Govindu and Rangama came to the basket to search Rama, L_Lakshmana, and Sita puppets. Bangaraka and Ketigadu puppets have been taken off from the screen. Ramankrishna waited for some time anxiously near the screen. Rangama and Govindu tried to pick up the puppets. Automatically there was some gap came as an interval. I guessed that Ramankrishna tried to avoid the raising of the gap, but failed. Ramankrishna picked up the puppets and gave signal, nodding his head suitably for beating the instruments. Then all the instruments were played, in high pitch. Firstly Rama, Lakshmana, and Sita were introduced to the screen by Ramankrishna, Govindu and Saroda simultaneously. One thing observed is clearly have. The artistes know the pulse of the audience. So they shifted the scene immediately. Then they alerted themselves to patch up the gap, and they played a strategy through the instruments beating. Normally there was no necessity to add the music in that gap. But to avoid the bareness in the audience, they played it. Again the audience became alert to observe the story. Folk dramas also follow the same techniques when the gap arises. All the artistes in that performance noticed that urgency and moved to fulfill the need. Nobody said or hinted the others at that time. Each character, i.e., Rama, Lakshmana and Sita, were introduced, see photo number 118, with the music of instruments playing, raising of noise in a high pitch. They manipulated with dancing the three puppets too. The male characters Rama and Lakshmana generally appear in Puranika Natakas 7 without dancing, but in folk dramas 48 every character enter the stage with dancing. The story has begun with Panchavati, and Rama was telling about the pleasantness of that area and mental. Page 224. Happiness about that environment. Then Golden Deer was introduced with jumpings and runnings. Sudden appearance, jumpings attracted the children and the elders too. For every 5 minutes the dialogues were followed by tricks in puppet playing. That method controlled the audience to keep them in watching mood. The running of the Golden Deer scene was attracted by Dapu beatings. Attention was paid by the audience in the golden deer scene without a dialogue or conversation. It stole the of the audience just by introducing Rama running after deer. Wanting the golden deer by Sita, argument between Rama and Lakshmana were all in a simple dialogue form. The golden deer was converted into Maricha, the demon, when Rama beat it by arrow, creating a sensation in the audience. The method of transformation of that scene was very attractive, and the words Ha Lakshmana, Ha Sita remembered the modem technical knowledge, which they have done it simply with electric bulb on and off method. This trick led to the next scene, which has mixed conversation between Lakshmana and Sita. Then it was turned to be hot discussion between Sita and Lakshmana. Sita was expressing her doubt about Lakshmana's loyalty. Humiliation are seen as natural scenes. There was no trick improved in that scene. Yati was introduced with the words like Hara Hara Mahadev Satkila Katakshana, Bhavati Bhikshandehi, Matata Anapunaswari in an ordinary way. But the audience paid attention for next scene. Immediately the climate was changed after the Yati scene, and all the instruments were beaten in high pitch along with Dapu, and 10-headed Ravana puppet was introduced by Govindu, who was master for that character manipulation in that troupe. The gestures, markers through crying and laughing in this scene created a sensation among the audience, particularly in the children. This trick was one of the main points in the total performance, and it helped a lot for the success of the performance. Page 225. They dragged this scene with attraction of 10-headed Ravana and loud noises. The introduction of this puppet itself has been a sensational event, and Ravana in Jangam Devara physics told Sita that it would not be good for an outsider to enter the home when head of the family was not there, therefore he wanted to leave urgently. That is why he was asking Bhiksham. And asked cleverly appearing elderly that who was she, and who was her partner. Sita told about her total history, and Ravana too explained why he came and how he was impressed and liked her. This all went in simple dialogues with impressive conversation. Actually, this scene does not create any attraction or interest, resulting in making the audience passive. But the dialogues used for this conversation were colloquial and very attractive. Then suddenly Sita cries with loud voice saying, "How dare you!" Are then used good relevant words for this scene, i.e., Nanu Kuranu Eni Talalura Niku, how many heads you have to desire to have me. Then the answer was more relative. Chudu Eni Talalunayo, see photo numbers 126 to 130, when 10-headed Ravana appeared on the screen. The instruments were operated in high pitch along with Dapu. Dapu will be operated in the scenes when the Rodra characters are on screen, or at the entry point, or at the war scenes. It indicates the harshness of that character and creates the eagerness in the audience. This word tala, head, used in this event was utilized for the 10-headed Ravana, and that was very relevant to the 10 heads. The shouts, cryings, and harsh voices, all these created a horror climate and fearful situation and helped to drag in the scene some time. The influence of this scene controlled the audience up to 20 minutes without any deviation. This is a good strategic point which has been observed throughout the tricks. The scene Ravana taking away Sita was made impressive with the help of the Pushpaka Vimana of Ravana in 3 to 4 rounds through the screen. Again they had a chance to introduce an attractive. Page 226. Scene i.e. Jatayuvu entered into the field to attack Ravana. A puppet of bird in big size was another interesting point. Talking and fighting with Ravana attracted the audience. The children had seen more anxiously the war scene of bird and man, and that event automatically advanced them for their strategies of the perform once. Jatayuvu entry scene gave a clue for another marker that the performer in puppet shows read slokas, verses, and then explain the meaning of each and every word of those slokas times and verses. The narration method, which is the main point in the story narratives, appeared in this scene. That means the puppet show adopted the narration method to attain success. Another popular method appeared in the scene was to call the opponent with local and colloquial ugly words like Orai and Arai. The experiment of Ra in colloquial indicates low strata in the society who was called by hierarchical feelers. These two scenes maintained the balance to connect the next scenes. The war between Jatayuvu and 10-headed Ravana was seen as war between equals. Sounds of Dapu, Plarak, and Madela were on high pitch to strengthen the feeling of the war. Wounded Jatayuvu cried uttering Rama, Sri Rama, and that scene got the audience sympathy for Jatayuvu. The audience interaction expressed the feeling depicting influence of the strategy of the event on the audience. The dance by Rama weeping and crying was an interesting scene. It's driving the mood of the people to a sorrowful situation with unrest where they cannot sit, walking here and there with weeping and crying. The message of Sita was informed to Rama and Lakshmana by Jatayuvu also added something to the strategies of the performance. War scene of Vali and Sugriva was manipulated by Romapa with his two hands simultaneously. The scene. Page 227. Created a sensation in the audience as introducing the war technique and monkeys. Even in the audience confused slogans were heard as that he is Vali, he is Sugriva, giving out to the clue of their involvement. The expressions and actions of Vali from deathbed scene reveals the feelings of the people. The weeping of Tara represents the common people actions in troubles, i.e., shaking of nose, beating of head and chest with hands, sitting, standing, etc. Then they avoided 3 scenes by 3 words. And introduced humorous characters Ketigadu and Bangaraka. The story was connected through these characters. Having conversation with other puppets. They praised the Dana one by one and continued the conversation. Hanuman moving, see photo number 133, in the sky was very interesting scene. The puppet exhibited a number of jumpings and upset movements to attract the audience. These upset movements were introduced through small monkey-type Hanuman puppet. Lankini was introduced along with Ketigadu. The scene was purely a strategy. Lankini was the character of story and demon, i.e., textual character, but Ketigadu and Bangaraka were non-textual characters. Lankini did not have any connection with these Ketigadu and Bangaraka. But Ketigadu began the conversation with Lankini as a social, vulgar discussion which was irrelevant, irregular, unequal and not tolerable. The scene was purely designed providing relief to the audience and to divert them from the seriousness of the story to silly entertainment. Naturally, the performers utilized the scene to express their personal problems, about their financial support, about their requests in between the conversation of the 2 puppets Lankini and Ketigadu. Page 228. Lankini puppet was too tall, head attached with an ugly appearance. Its manufacturing itself was like that, to utilize that puppet to generate humor. Lankini was made and watching person near Sita in Ashoka Gardens. The performer introduced one-sided duet to Kettigadu with Lankini. The audience got relief from the seriousness to relaxation. Then Hanuman, small type monkey puppet was introduced. Some argument with Lankini was prolonged and finally fighting scene, see photo number 132, was imposed. That scene created some sensation due to imbalance between the two opponents, i.e., huge Lankini and tiny Hanuman. The disparity has been a strategy of the performers. They introduced Lanka Dahanam scene and it appeared like firing. The tail of Hanuma was burnt. Hanuma burnt the Lanka Nagaram. They made it as real fight scene and for that they had to work hard. They arranged separate fire by burning clothes, i.e., Kagada, country lamp. The performers tied it with the tail of Hanuman puppet and moved around the screen along with Hanuman. Sita's tragedy scene was introduced by dancing with sorrow mood. The last scene also gained some strategic values by weeping to attract the audience. In the total performance, the great remarkable point was that the performers started the performance with Vaishnavate times tradition, i.e., Govinda, Govinda, Narayana, Sri Rama, Jaya Rama, Narayana, etc. Though they were all Saivates, they did not mention anywhere about Saivism. But at the end of the Mangala Harathi they spelt the last words in Saivate tradition. Page 229. They spelt as Parvatipati, Harahara Mahadeva Harahara Mahadeva Sambhu. The puppeteers of Emirati people belong to Saiva tradition. According to their marriage systems, death, ceremony traditions, lifestyles reveal the Saiva cult. Contrast to this in puppet show they have been rendering Vaishnava stories such as Bharata and Ramayana only. 4.7. Audience interaction. The puppeteers played Nagara, i.e., Dapu was played like a Nagara. Then children from the audience who were very close to the screen cried with joy and shoutings with happiness. The puppeteers started the play with prayer. They began as Govinda, Govinda, and the children also voiced as Govinda, Govinda. Then the audience moved and searched for their seats. The puppeteers manipulated the Ganesh in the prayer song. The audience commented like that the Ganesh doll was very beautiful. Children sat in 4 rows very nearer to the screen and after them the teenaged girls sat there in 3 rows. Women between 40 to 50 sat in 2 rows after the teenaged girls. When the prayer was started the gents moved slowly towards the backside of the women audience. They sat in 3 rows after the women audience. Teenaged boys stood both sides very nearer to the teenaged girls. The boys were commenting on whatever scene on the screen. Few women audience of high-class families of the village sat in front of the gateways of the page 230 houses of that colony. A lady artiste Saroda manipulated the Saraswathi to dance. Saraswathi prayer was over, then Bangaraka was introduced to the screen. Saroda manipulated this character also. In the beginning of her entrance youth commented that came Bangaraka. Bangaraka told the audience that she felt that she got the itching sensation and she scratched for relief from it. Young ladies laughed at the scene clearly and elder ladies laughed with shyness and covered their heads with the saris. Young boys laughed loudly. The conversation of Bangaraka was spelt by Saroda. Ketigadu came to the screen. Konda Reddy of Nimalakanta donated 5 rupees to the puppeteers. Romappa praised him. Researcher also donated him 5 rupees. Romappa praised the researcher for arranging the show. He altered his praises that the donor live 100 years and they, the puppeteers, live 110 years. Then one of the audience commented that this old fellow wants to live long life. Romappa repeated the praises twice. Then one of the audience stood up and asked to begin the story immediately. Instruments were adjusted in interval. The dances of Sita, Rama, and Lakshmanas were attracted by the audience. The puppets of Rama and Lakshmana were 6 feet in size and Sita was 4 feet in size. Golden deer was introduced. Mangama manipulated the character. The children observed the scene silently. Gestures of Rama and Lakshmana according to their movements, particularly the hand movements, were attracted by the audience. In the hunting of golden deer the instruments were played in the higher pitch. All the audience were alerted. During the conversation between Sita and Lakshmana, women audience commented that Sita was misled by herself and she got the troubles. Ravana came to Sita appearing to be a saint. One comment came out from the audience that they were playing well that day. Sita asked Ravana how dare to come before Rama's wife. The Ravana appeared with 10 heads. All the page 231 instruments were raised the noises. O 10 heads, it is wonderful. One comment came out from the audience. The children who seated very nearer to the screen stood anxiously, reached the screen from their places when they want to see the 10-headed Ravana figure. Women audience ordered the children to sit on the floor. Jatayuvu saw Ravana who was taking away Sita along with him to Lanka. Some noise like Hamaya, which was meant for relief that Sita was found, from the audience. Jatayuvu faced Ravana to fight with him and was wounded by Rana. Romappa and Ramankrishna manipulated the war between Jatayuvu and Ravana. The movements of these two were appeared inside the stage like a real fighting between Romappa and Ramankrishna. Children and youth felt happy and while whistling raised slogans like beat, beat. At the defeat of the Jatayuvu the audience felt sorry. Youth involved in the internal discussion about the story of Ramayana. One person from backside shouted for silence. Rama and Lakshmana discussed about Sita with sorrowful mood. Then all the audience observed the play with serious and sad feelings silently. Hanuman appeared on the screen. Then the children felt happy and noised with whistles. They introduced the different types of Hanuman figures. Small figures of Hanuman touched the feet of Rama with devotion. Then the audience laughed. The children made noise with whistles in the fighting scene between Vali and Sugriva. Vali died. After coronation of Angada, puppeteers introduced Ketigadu. He came to the screen by showing his penis to the upward direction. This nuisance, vulgar and sexual scene was introduced to divert the audience's mood and to make them anxious. After serious and sorrowful scenes, the puppeteers would introduce this type of humor for the relaxation of the. Page 232. Audience. By seeing penis of Ketigadu, boys commented that, Orniama, battery velabatindu, i.e., Ketigadu came with showing his penis. The word battery means the hand torchlight which resembled in shape of male sex organ penis. Then women audience laughed with shyness. Romapa began the praising through Ketigadu. Audience asked to play the story. Puppeteers started again the story. Some women audience moved towards their home. Somebody asked why they were going. One of them told that they have to go too far and feeling cold. Hanuman entered into the Lanka and saw Lankini there. The figure of Lankini was 6 feet in height. When Lankini came to the screen, the children cried with happy and joy and made noises with the whistles and commented that the figure was well, nice, etc. Hanuman puppet was in tiny shape. Lankini danced. Children came nearer to the screen fastly. The audience warned them and ordered them to sit. Then Ketigadu was introduced by showing his penis to the upward and side directions. Somebody commented from the audience that the humor must be told by Romapa only. Romapa began the humor with Ketigadu and Lankini. Stick of machine and battery were words used instead of penis. Ketigadu talked humorously and sexually with Lankini. The conversation was informal. This was only for the sake of audience. Gents came forward towards the women audience. Somebody asked to change the scene. Another man raised his tone to run that humor only. Bangaraka was introduced and then ended the humor. In the sorrowful scene of Sita, women audience observed keenly with sad faces. During the conversation between Ravana and Sita, children asked the elders about the story. Mandadari was introduced to the screen. One stone. Page 233. Was thrown from the audience towards the Ravana puppet which was on the screen. This reveals that how the bad characters are hated by the illiterate audience. One of the audience asked for humor. Then Bangaraka and her son-in-law Sadugalenavadu were introduced with sexual conversations. They discussed each other about the sex, and the sexual attachment was shown on the screen between these two. The audience enjoyed it with happy. This shows that sexual conversations are common among the folk. They won't feel guilty about it. Women audience also saw with shyness and felt laughing. Then Ketigadu was introduced with angry against them and the scene was removed. The Venkatama 10-years-old girl manipulated the Sita. Rangama woman artiste manipulated Hanuman. Fighting between the Rakshasa and Hanuman was going on. Children voiced with joy. All the instruments were played. Audience noise with whistles in the scene of the imprisonment of Anjaneya by Meghanada. Conversation between Vibhishana and Ravana, the firing of Lanka, the construction of bridge across the sea, the battle of Rama and Ravana, release of Sita from Lanka and back to the Ayodhya were keenly observed by the audience. At every scene some response was expressed by the audience. Children responded at every war and humorous scenes of Ketigadu. The youth responded at every sexual dialogues of Ketigadu. The elders responded observing keenly story mainly in tragedy scenes. Totally all were responded at the story. One elder man of 50 years age came to the researcher, observed the researcher, and smiled with lips. Two male youth came to me and observed my movements in the middle of the show. After ending the story, elders had gone. But youth waited for some time and the children waited till the puppeteers left the stage. Page 234. 4. Story delivery styles. The delivery of the story is the important function in puppet show traditions. The delivery styles convey the message of the text from performers to audience. If the artistes gave the performance in a single style, the audience may feel bored. If the artistes introduced too many delivery styles, and not relevant styles of the text, then the audience may get confused. The delivery styles of the story must be more suitable, relevant, attractive, and interesting way to the audience. Researcher followed Stuart H. Blackburn in studying the delivery styles. It was observed that there are 6 types of delivery styles. The poems, songs, dialogues, conversations, speeches, informal speeches were used in the performance. Some parts of the story which were recorded by the researcher on the 4th of January, 1989 at Nimalakunta 1 documented below. These parts depicting the different styles. 1. Markings. Also followed Susan Wadley by giving the marks to the instruments. Some marking 1 also given to the instruments used in puppet show and artiste, performed in the show to recognize easily from the story parts. 1. Markings given to the instruments. Harmonium A. Cymbals B. Mridangam C. Pedestal plank D. Anklet bells E. Page 235. Dapu._F. 4.8.1.2 Markings given to the artistes. Romapa A. Ramankrishna B. Saroda C. Rangama D. Govindu E. Mangama F. Kulayapa G. 4.8.2. Delivery styles. 4.8.2.1 Poem. Kosinger, D. Yayuputra here, A. Take this ring, A. Go immediately to Lanka, A. Say to Sita about my safety, A. And do me as happy, A. CS, D, AA, 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 A. CS, D, AA, 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 A. CS, F, AAA, 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 A. CS, D, Hanuman. Main singer, A. Aha. CS, D, hear me. Take my ring. MS, A. Aha. CS, D, cross the dreaded sea. Page 236. MS, A. Aha. CS, D, go over to Lanka. MTS, A. Aha. CS, D, get me news of Sita, make me happy. MS, A. Aha. 4. Group song. CS, C. I am impatient of separation. ABT. Group, ABDEF. I am impatient of separation. ABT. CS, C. 0 Yama, ABC. Group, ABDEF. I am impatient of separation. ABT. CS, C. He won't come too near. ABT. Group, ABDEF. He won't come too near. ABT. CS, My desire strengthened at dawn, apt. Group, abdef. My desire strengthened at dawn, apt. CS, 0 Yama, ABC. Group, abdef. I am impatient of separation, apt. CS, I am impatient of separation, apt. Group, abdef, AA. Apt. Group, AA. Apt. 4.8.2.2.1 Solo Song. CS, O Rama, ABC. CS, CU, apt. CS, O Rama, ABC. CS, save me, apt. Page 237. CS, O Rama, ABC. CS, OCU, apt. CS, O Rama, ABC. CS, protect me, apt. CS, AA, ABC. CS, AAA, ABC. 5. Dialogue. Main singer, A. This Vinayoka. Co-singer, Aha. MS, A. Beginner of puppet show performance. CS, Aha. MS, A. If devote the name of this fellow. CS, Aha. MS, A. Purpose for which he stayed here, time is passing away. CS, Aha. MS, A. Lord Shankara, Chandrasekhara. CS, Aha. MS, A. Who is Chandrasekhara? CS, Aha. MS, A. Who has 3 eyes? CS, Aha. MS, A. We are paying devotion to him Vineswara who is son of that Lord. Page 238. 4.8.2.4 Conversation. MS, A. Madam, you came here. Who are you, Madam Mother? CS, 0 Child, you are asking who I am. Here. MS, A. Yes. CS, Bharati Devi, wife of Brahma. MS, A. Mother. CS, Aham. MS, A. The Queen of the Creator of this world. Your name is Bharati Devi, it means Saraswati Devi. CS, D. Yes. MS, A. Reason for your coming here? CS, the story of Ramayana being performed here. To tell what the story is. MS, A. Aha. CS, to bestow moksha on seeing the Sundarakanda, i.e., Lanka Dahana. MS, A. Aha. CS, on request I am here to provide good to children and the village. MS, A. Where are you going, madam? CS, leaving to Brahmaloka. MS, A. To Brahmaloka. CS, yes. MS, A. See you, madam. Page 239. 4.8.2.5. Informal speech. MS, A. The farmer is treasurer of servants, gods, and kings. He is the father. He is the host for all. The same is farmer helping us since long time. CS, See whenever and everywhere the farmers are sponsoring the performances. MTS A. Today's performance is sponsored by Venkateswalu from Hyderabad. C. We are here for the performance. Today's play is Sundarakanda. We perform the performance. MTS A. Everybody feels satisfied by seeing this. The King Krishnadeva encouraged the puppet shows. C. The puppet tradition encouraged by the King Krishnadeva is now declining in its charm. 4.8.2.6 Informal conversation. MTS A. Ketigadu, who are you? CS D. Lankini, I am Lankini. Gate keeper of Lanka, this is front gate. MTS A. Ketigadu, why are you here? CS D. Lankini, I am watching the Lanka. MTS A. Ketigadu, what you height if you remove all of your hair? How many blades you need for it? CS D. Lankini, you are a small man, don't talk too much. Page 240. MTS A. CS D. Ketigadu, can you play with me? Lankini, yes. But what play? I have to play with you. Use of varieties of delivery styles. Poems were used in the puppet show performance of Sundarakanda for few incidents. But the style of delivery of the poems has been different from the poems of other folk art forms. The poem only supported by harmonium. At the end of the poem co-singer started the raga as A. Actually this poem was sung by this co-singer Venkatama. At the end of this raga another co-singer Mangama who was playing the harmonium started the raga as AAA. This raga was accompanied by harmonium. Then the co-singer Venkatama explained the poem in orderly manner with small dialogues. Each dialogue was followed by main singer Romappa with aha. At the time of dialogues no instrument was played. Songs have a role in all important incidents. These were two types. The group song was sung by co-singer Saroda. Romappa, Ramankrishna, Rangama, Gonvindu and Mangama repeated the song in chorus. Each line of song was repeated by the above group. Here each line was sung as solo by Saroda and as chorus by group. Solo and chorus were accompanied by harmonium, cymbals, mridangam, pedestal plank and anklet bells sound collectively in single speed up to the end. Then they repeated each line in double speed in music. In between the lines, there was one dialogue O Yama used by Saroda. Music instruments ABC were only accompanied at that time. At the end of the song all artists, page 241, sang the raga AA. This raga AA, also accompanied by the instruments ABCT in double speed. This solo song was sung by co-singer Saroda until the end of the song. One line was addressing, vocative, and another line was representation. The addressing line was accompanied by the music instruments ABC in double and the representation line was accompanied by ABCT in double speed. At the end, rag was sung by Saroda as AA. Accompanying with ABC in double sped at the end of her raga, Mangama, F, began the raga as AAA accompanying with ABC in double speed. In this part, Dialogues were delivered main singer Romapa. This dialogue was followed by co-singer Saroda with a sound aha. No musical instrument was played in these dialogues. In this part conversation was taken. The character here was Saraswati. So Saroda occupied main place and was answered by her only. Romapa joined in the conversation. Sometimes this conversation was having equal dialogues to each. No musical instrument was played in this conversation. Informal speech. In this part both the artiste participated with equal delivering of the dialogues. Main singer Romapa explained one point and co-singer Saroda explained another point. No lengthy or speedy situations are there. And no musical instruments were played in this part. This informal speech was in between the Kettigadu and Bangaraka, who were the humorous characters. Page 242. Another type of informal speech was also there. That speech was delivered purely in dialectical and spoken language. That was discussed by Kettigadu and Bangaraka, with some sexual and humorous dialogues. Informal conversation. In this part the conversation was in between Kettigadu, who was no way connected with story, and Lankini, a small character in the story. The questions of Kettigadu was purely informal and the answers of Lankini was formal. This has not at all considered by anybody in view of the story. This was introduced for the relaxation of audience. 4.9. Composing of incidents. In the beginning there had a prayer by Kettigadu and Bangaraka entered and followed by their filthy dialogues and the villagers' appreciations. Bangaraka exits and Altapa entered into the scene, who conversed with Kettigadu in humorous way. All these took place in the drama also. This became an incident. Kettigadu disappeared with an announcement about the entry of Ganapati, Lord of Obstacles. This became good scene after praising of Ganapati. The Sutradhara introduced Goddess Saraswati, Devi of education. She told, she came to the earth while going to Brahmaloka in the break journey, and also to bless the playtimes and the artistes. There is no other role in this incident. This scene got its own identify. They have taken an interval of half an hour for the play. Meanwhile, usually in other plays the main artistes appear on the dais and praise the people, who have announced and arranged that day alms for them. Then and there he requests the villagers to come forward for their mite. With same compassion for next days. Page 243. Alms also. The villagers come forward to arrange alms for each artiste the next day also, thus the main artiste disappears after announcing the names of the villagers duly acknowledging their support. In this context, as this play is pre-arranged one for a fixed amount, the interval remained as it is. Usually the two characters, Bangaraka and Kettigadu, are inevitable characters from the beginning to the end of the play. They will suddenly appear before the characters that are playing the villainy and they abuse the bad nature of them. They even beat them and run away to create humor, during the scenes of terror, vigor, mercy, romance etc. These characters try to bring the viewer moods to become normal, make them feel comfortable to switch over to the next scenes. In the dialogues of Kettigadu and Bangaraka, there were comments on the present social aspects, deteriorating human values and the problems of the nation too. They will appear and disappear any time in the drama and add the humorous flavor to the situation. There is no fixed incident for the performance, and it will be changed from time to time. One way these are the characters, or mediators, to take the poor living condition of the artiste to the public through their dialogues. As there is no other way to exhibit their plight, these characters are used to come closer to the public, to reveal their sufferings, and in turn they expect the generous donations from the villagers. These characters also tell the story of the play in each incident, whether it is Ramayana times or Mahabharata. These three characters play main role in each performance. So incident. Page 244. Demarcation will take a shape from time to time and play-to-play basis. Bangaraka starts the play very casually, saying, "There are many parts in Ramayana of which Sundarakanda is one among them." Ketigadu okays and announces the entry to Rama and Lakshmana onto the dais. This also becomes on Envet. They also told the gift of complete incidents going to take place in the drama, like the Vanavasa of Sita, Rama, and Lakshmana, the mystic deer. Adduction of Sita, war between Vali and Sugriva, coronation of Sugriva, entering Hanuman into Lanka, Hanuman finding Sita in Ashokavanam, setting fire to Lanka, and so on. Here in this particular play at Nimalakanta, all these incidents took place one after the other, and Bangaraka and Ketigadu disappeared from the scene at appropriate moments. Usually in each incident the main artiste renders 3 slokas or padyas, connecting to the main story, and the other artistes repeat them. Gist of the padyam will be described by the main artiste. But here in this play, padyams were not rendered till the abduction of Sita. All the incidents took place in dialogue form only. The entry of Ravana with 10 heads and the conversation between Ravana and Sita were very existing ones. The percussion instruments were played vigorously while Ravan's entrance onto the dais, forecasting some dangerous situation is going to him. During their encounter, claps and whistles too were heard from the audience, as Ravana exists along with crying Sita. Rama and Lakshmana appeared on the screen. Their meeting with Jatayu, knowing about Sita's whereabout, Jatayu's death, brothers proceeding towards Kishkinda, all. Page 245. Were described in the prose format only. No particular importance was given to these incidents. As both the brothers proceed, Hanuman meets them and doubts them as the warriors coming as the messengers of Vali, who is the enemy of Sugriva. Thus informing the viewer the enmity between Vali and Sugriva. Hanuman brought Rama and Lakshmana to Sugriva. They came to an understanding about Sugriva's connecting and search for Sita. An important point noteworthy here is the carving of the situations. Care was taken to prolong the situations that create interest in the audience, like battle scenes between Jatayu and Ravana, Vali and Sugriva, and so on. Others were described in conversational manner or dialogue form only. At last Rama hurts Vali. Vali in Ramayana says to Rama that you have done a mistake by doing friendship with Sugriva, who is a coward. I have defeated Ravana many a time. You could have approached me instead. But here in this particular play, Vali, instead of describing his own heroic deeds, criticizes King Rama for hunting a monkey instead of wild animals. Here in this puppet show there is a stream on the mistake done by Rama in killing Vali of Tara also is thought provocative in this particular puppet show. While consoling Tara, Vali here used a Telugu proverb when fencing itself grazed away the fields, where is the security for law? The lawmaker has himself become the lawbreaker now, what to do? This proverb is widely used in the day-to-life too. This scene was followed by the coronation of Sugriva, which ended very simple followed by an interval. Usually. Page 246. Intervals are used to describe the sufferings of the artistes, mainly depending on this art form. But here, all the artistes have built houses, forming as a cooperative society had as this particular show has been arranged for a fixed amount, nor artiste appeared on the dias again. After the interval Gandoligadu and Bangaraka appeared on the screen and appraised the viewers comparing their meeting as to that of Sugriva and Rama good. Then they started describing about their cooperative society and about the one Kardarao who took much of pain for their settlement and started the appraiser. This helped us to know about their society and their welfare. But as this description was going on, prolonging, one of the audience shouted loudly to stop this nonsense and start play. One from the audience gave 5 rupees as his donation on the name of Kardarao and the show started again. Hanuman was seen on the screen singing bhajans on Rama, who was already preset along with his brother Lakshmana. Hanuman asked to Rama as to why and what for he was called. Rama told about Sita's disappearance and asked Hanuman to go in search of Sita, giving Hanuman to go in search of Sita Hanuman his ring. In this particular puppet show, the conversation is minimized more straightly going into the main story. But the same situation prolonged incidents like Sugriva's army going in vain to all the 4 directions in search of Sita, stressing the need of jumping across the sea, expressing their inability to cross the sea, Jambavanta's hope on Hanuman, Hanuman approaching Rama and proceeding for Lanka with Rama's ring were also seen by the researcher himself elsewhere, in a very descriptive style. Here. Page 247. Nimala Kunta Group, keeping in view the time limit, describe the incidents in minimized dialogues. One screen, Hanuma appeared before Lankini as Lilliput. In the conversation between Hanuma and Lankini, Kettigadu and Bangaraka entered the scene, to create humor in the main story. Even though their entrance here is not connected to the main story, this sub-incident casted the specialty of this format. Kettigadu here in this Lankini. This culture of conversing was also seen in other folk formats like street plays, i.e. Yakshaganam, Tupu Bhagavatam, Chenchu Natakam, and so on. Bangaraka was the housewife of Kettigadu. Both of them talked in a very filthy language about the free romance. There will not be any binding for their dialogues, even the private parts will also be shown on the screen. Lankini possessed huge body without intelligence. Kettigadu made use of his point and played with her. He asked her to close her eyes. As she closed her eyes he caught hold of her breasts. She opened her eyes and beat him. Meanwhile Bangaraka entered the scene and scolds Kettigadu for making fun of Lankini. She even made fun of him, saying he was unable to make her sexually happy. How dare he goes to a demon like this? Bangaraka also beats him. This type of sub-incidents are the specialty of these folk formats only. Here also the same procedure was adopted. Then started conversation between Hanuman and Lankini, followed by fight between both of them. Hanuman suddenly changed into Lilliput form, and the very next minute he appeared in a huge body, confusing Lankini. Lankini also changed her body into huge form and opened her mouth to swallow away Hanuma, whereas he immediately changed his body as Lilliput and entered into her mouth and came out through. Page 248. Her ear. All this appeared as a jugglery to the viewers, and they enjoyed the scene fully. The presentation of the above fight was done in a very professional way, and it was shown as if Hanuma was over Lankini very easily. The worldliness and the dialogue delivery and the cleverness of Hanuma attracted the viewers. Meghanada's entrance and capturing Hanuma was shown in only 2 dialogues, not giving much importance to the incident. In the conference hall, Ravana and Vibhishana were only present and Hanuma entered. Ravana announced his imprisonment. Hanuma found Sita and Ashokavana and gives away the ring given by Rama, and Intam took Sirobhusana of Sita. This was also shown in prose with limited dialogues. The scene changed to Ravana's conference hall, where Vibhishana differed with the view of Ravana in giving punishment to Hanuma. He said there is no meaning in giving a death sentence to a small creature like monkey, instead they can humiliate his feelings. This incident showed the difference between Ravana and Vibhishana as such, and also symbolically indicates the union of Vibhishana and Rama in near future. At last Ravana followed the opinion of Vibhishana and ordered to apply fire to the tail of Hanuma. Here the viewers knew the wise thinking of Vibhishana and the cruelty of Ravana also. They also knew the wealth of the city Lanka. This incident was followed by Hanuma's destructiveness in Lanka. The artiste playing the puppets behind the screen held a torch in his hand at the end of the tail of Hanuma and fastly moved the Hanuma puppet on the screen 4 to 5 times from right to left, again from left to right. This acted effectively on the minds of the viewers, as if Lanka was really being burnt away by Hanuma. Page 249. Hanuma reached Kishkind at last. He met Rama, and Lakshmana told about Sita's whereabout and gave her Sirobhushanam to Rama. Rama bursted into tears seeing that ornament. There was no much involvement in viewers in this scene. Thus this play ended with an auspicious song. 4.10 Manipulation of puppets. Puppets show performances are so many varieties. Each one is having its own methodology in giving the performance. Mandekulu is a play with wooden dolls. The performer sits one place, keeps all the dolls nearer to him and explains the story by showing the concerned doll with raising hand. 48. These scroll narratives are the performances of story narratives with drama structures. The performers explain the story by showing concerned figures on the scroll through their hand stick. 49 Wood puppets, rod puppets, string puppets are having their own methods in introducing the puppets in the performances. 50 Like Their Way leather puppet show performance is also having its own method in manipulation of the puppets. 51. The manipulation of the puppets, to an outsider, may seem very complex on the use of the sticks that are attached to the puppet figures. The movements of the limbs are limited. Complex manipulation is involved only while using the dance puppets. The animation of a puppet figure depends on the way one uses the two cross sticks attached to puppet's hands. It is already indicated that the figure is kept tight by attaching a bamboo stick vertically on the puppet, which runs from the top of the head to the trunk with a little part of the stick extended below the puppet. The puppeteer holds the puppet on the screen with page 250. This attached to the puppet itself. Since the puppet is colored on the both sides, the stick used even to change the sides of the puppet. In olden days, when there were only one-piece puppets, this stick was enough for animation. But subsequently, a greater flexibility and variety were brought into the making of puppet, so that now, the puppet figures are made of multiple limbs made separately and joined by knots of thick thread. The limbs are flexible, while times this added a greater sense of realism to the performance. It also involved a greater complexity in the operation of the figures. While the puppets are still operated with the holding of the attached stick. There are different methods used for gesticulations and other modes of body movements. Loops are arranged at the center of the palms and two sticks are inserted into them. All manipulations of the hands are done with these two attached sticks. The manipulation with the sticks is limited only gestures during conversations. Other body movements are done either by holding the puppet with the vertical stick attached to the figure or even with the manipulator's hand. 52. This may be true and at the same time, they have an alternative too. They are the skilled persons, they will face anything, so that they prepare every artiste to conduct the performance even in the worst situation. Their main purpose is to give the performance. If any problem raised, they solve themselves and get the success of the performance. If they encounter any problem in manipulation, they will continue the performance with alternative arrangements. Manipulation of puppet is a communicating vehicle of the puppet show performance in between the performers and page 251. The audience. They manipulate each character according to this behavior, status, situation, event, taste of audience to influence the audience and for their success of performance. 4 sizes of puppets were introduced for the character of Hanuman in different occasions. They were in ordinary size as a minister of Sugriva, small size in crossing the sea, big size at war with Lankini and Viswayupa size at Sita. Dancing of Hanuman was attracted by the audience more than any of the character in the performance. The dancing was introduced through small-size Hanuman. The movements and actions of Rama and Lakshmana on the screen appeared as dignified, and with gentle behavior the audience guessed the story from time to time according to the actions and movements of manipulation. Ravana in the shape of saint was very simple. The puppet of Ravana as a king dominated in acting the other characters. 10-headed Ravana puppet was very attractive, and appeared as dominant behavior. The method of introduction of that puppet was also a special attention. Noise of instruments, beatings, higher pitch voices of artistes and shoutings, whistles, cries of audience communicated the situation of the story. The situations of the story was understood by introduction of the puppets and its movements according to their behavior. In the scene of Ravana taking away Sita, there was no story. But by the movements and actions of the puppets of the scene only, the audience understood. The story position changing of shape of Ravana from saint to 10-headed Ravana was the cause to guess the story by the audience, that he came to deceive Sita. This type of performative techniques can be seen in other theatrical forms also. The instruments and the action, the poems or dialogues favored to the character. So the audience understood easily the story situation. Page 252. In the case of small characters, there was no question of poems, songs, or conversations with big characters. The movements and actions expressed the behavior of the character of Jatayuvu and Ravana, and the story was understood easily that Ravana was attacked by Jatayuvu to protect Sita, and this Jatayuvu remained as messenger to give the information to Rama about Sita. In the battle between Vali and Sugriva, the audience understood easily the story, what will be the happening, when Sugriva called Vali for battle. When small Hanuman killed Lokini, the audience, who were observing the screen, understood the story that Hanuman could see Sita. Ravan burnt the tail of Hanuman. The audience observed screen with curiosity that Hanuman can do some harm to Lanka. Instruments also gave the clue of the story. Hanuman puppet was manipulated wonderfully in this situation. Like this way, the manipulation of puppets while dancing, acting, moving, talking and singing gave the clue the story situations from time to time to the audience. But in view of drama, manipulation is an important point in the leather puppet show performances. When compared with other drama formats or with art forms or with general drama forms, the difference can be identified. The puppets are all the representatives of the characters of that performance. These are relevant characters to the characters of other drama forms. So the puppets can be compared with the real artistes in the other drama forms. But the work is different. When we observe these puppets in comparison with the artistes of other drama forms, we must take into the consideration of their position. The artiste is different in puppet shows than the artiste of other drama forms. They play takes place without players in the puppet performances, and the folk drama performances can be studied under the theatrical formats. Page 253. Though puppet performances have a place in folk art forms, they get their own importance in the methodology. So, that is called as puppet theatre. How the interpretation in the performance takes place can be observed in the puppet theatres of its own. Firstly, they introduced Ganesh puppet. It was kept on the screen by thorns. They started puja and the breakup of coconuts, in front of Ganesh only. Here they have done prayer by manipulation of Ganesh puppet. Folk dramas do not introduce the drum instruments like dapu in the prayer of Ganesh, whereas in puppet shows dapu, wooden plank and other instruments follow the Ganesh prayer. The instruments dapu and plank created vigorous sound and it indicated the weight of the character. This sound dominated all the aspects in that scene, and it became the representative of abhinaya, expression. Ganesh character acts with simple abhinaya and expresses his wishes with right and shakes the head slightly in all the folk dramas. 53 puppet show performance is different. In the observed performance, the performer introduced the Ganesh puppet with dancing. The performer manipulated the puppet with dignified manner, vigorous movements and without speed actions. The sound of instrument indicated the greatness of Ganesh. They sing the verse first and then pronounced word by word of that verse, by showing the body parts of Ganesh, relevant to the words with their handstick. No folk drama shows the body parts of Ganesh as a meaning of the words of verse. This is also one type of action. They praised Ganesh through dialogues. He was first man to pray, and he was only man to inaugurate the performance, so that they were praying him first. The impression of the discussion created an image in the minds of audience that, perhaps he, page 254, might be the great leader or elder for the performance. This good impression, dignity, greatness, gentility, and all other feelings were generated by the performer's skill through the method of dialogue delivery and production of musical sounds of instruments and manipulation of puppet. Then they shifted the scene to Saraswati and was brought to the screen by dancing. She was the goddess of education. After Ganesh, Saraswati stood in second place. All the performers welcomed Saraswati. She involves as partner of that play in all the folk dramas. The manipulation of Saraswati puppet on the screen expressed an impression that Saraswati was walking with gentleness by showing dignity. The respect expressed by the troupe towards Saraswati revealed that people was welcoming VIPs to their homes. This feeling was brought by the performers with the modulation of welcoming words Swagatham and manipulation of puppet. Then the discussion was started by the performers in question and answer method. She told that she was going Brahmaloka and visited the performance in the break journey to wish the performers, audience and the village. The performer expressed the Nandi through Saraswati. Generally the folk dramas and also classical dramas proposes Nandi and Prasthana through Noti and Sutradhara. 54 puppet performances also introduce characters Ketigadu and Bangaraka like Noti and Sutradhara of folk dramas. But puppet shows times introduce Nandi through Saraswati. The performers maintained the weight of the character through the dialogues only. That shows the skill of the artists regulated the Saraswati character. The skill of troupe. Page 255. Leaders, ability, in direction, gave a mark of identity, specialty of the puppet show performance. Then they introduced Ketigadu and Bangaraka to the screen, who were the extra, social and non-textual characters. Puppet shows introduce Bangaraka and Ketigadu as humorous characters. These characters are equal to the humor character of folk dramas, i.e. Arsegadu in Vidi Bhagavatam, 55 Pradhani in Yakshaganam, 56 Khan Saheb and Bude Saheb in Chindu Yakshaganam. 57 Traditional theatre has a humorous character, clown, as assistant to the king or hero by name Vidushaka 58 or Vasantaka. 59. The main purpose of this character is to create humor by using twisting words, actions, too much eatings etc. In folk dramas of Telugu, this character is mixed with Sutradhara 60. In classical dramas, Sutradhara is a main role with makeup and costumes. Vidushaka moves always with the hero. Vasantaka in Tuppu Bhagavatam 61 is mixed characters of Vidushaka and Sutradhara. But this Vasantaka acts as Madhavi in front of Satyabhama as female role 62. Many troupes call him as Sutradhara. In the Kangundi Kuppam 63 Vidi Natakam and in Kudappa Chukaluri Rama Natakam 64 it is called as buffoon. Sometimes they call this character as Sevaka. In local dialect it is called Chavakudu, Sevakudu, 65 means servant. but these Kangundi Kuppam and Kudappa Vidi Nataka traditions have the Sutradhara characters. This is called in local dialect as Supudaralu, Chupudarulu. 66 In other Rayalaseema areas, the clown is called as Gandholi, Juttapalugadu 67. This is only one character as clown and Sutradhara. This word Gandholi or Juttapalugadu generated from the influence of leather puppet shows. Many troupes of the puppet shows perform the Bayalata 68, the folk drama of Rayalaseema, i.e. Ananthappa and Ballari districts. The artistes of puppet tradition perform the same play and story in the both the ways, i.e. leather puppet performances and page 256. Bayalata or Vidanatakam performance. They perform in folk drama with costumes and actions, and they manipulate the puppets in puppet performances. Yakshaganam of Mahabubnagar and Kurnool call it as Pradhani. 69 Chindu Yakshaganam of Nalgonda and Warangal 70. Yakshagana of Karimnagar 71 call it as Buddan Kadu and Buddan Khan. Chenchu Natakam and Bayalata call it as Alikadu.72. All these use this character with double purpose, i.e. for Sutradhara and clown. Juttapalugadu is another name to Kettigadu in leather puppet show performances. These Kettigadu and Bangaraka are special characters in puppet shows. They were utilized as Sutradharas and also as clowns of male and female. Actually, these two characters are relevant to the Noti and Nachadu 73, the Sutradharas of classical theatre. In entire drama field, Bangaraka is only the female clown. But it is not clown, transferred into female clown. The performer of puppet shows is the leader and main person who had done all these. The Sutradharalu, i.e. Noti and Nachadu, were continued and converted into clowns of male and female. Their main job is to pull on the performance, in all respects. They link up the story by mentioning in between the scene and events. They help the story characters in supporting gap timings. They continue the story by patching up the intervals with humorous conversations. Almost all those are the responsible characters for the success of the performances. They know the improvisation well than any character. They can turn the performance to any direction without planning and rehearsal. They improvise from mythological issues to current secular and social issues in the performance in anywhere, in any manner and in any quantity of humor or with other matters. They indicate the entering. Page 257. Of the characters to the screen, coming story, good and bad quantities of the story and characters, etc. They behave. All the general information is their right, and to do the success of the performance is their responsibility. The performer of puppet shows should recognize all these first, and has tried to fulfill the requirements. When compare with all these, the visited performance was very successful in maintaining the balance. The performance of this puppet show tried to give maximum successful performance and utilized all the sources for the success of the performance. They manipulated the puppets of Kettigadu and Bangaraka. Kettigadu is the most important non-textual character in the puppet show in view of the audience. He is the leader of the performance, he is the director of the performance, he is the advisor to the public, he is a preacher and teacher. He is a narrator to the story. He can talk to Kathanayaka, Kathanaica, villain, and with everybody. He is a composer, he is a gap fill-up master, creator of humor, and he is all in all. The performer who introduces Ketigadu should have the knowledge of all above qualities to manipulate the puppets. The studied performance imposed all these feelings through Ketigadu character and manipulated well to get the success of the performance. The performer manipulated the Ketigadu character from prayer scene onwards and up to the end of the performance. The puppet at the prayer was as Sutradhara and converted into next scene. He praised the elders of that village, helpers of the performance, and then mentioned the problems of that village, and greatness of the art, how the society was neglecting the art form, living conditions of the page 258. Artistes and then story. Ketigadu appeared as a dignified man in one incident, gentle man in another incident, advisor in the next incident, obedient in one incident and faithful man in next incident, and so on. The dialogue delivery method for each incident was different. Each scene maintained its own way to deliver the style, action, and expression in fitting manner of that situation. The creation of expression in different angles, in different characters' qualities, through a single puppet is not an easy thing. Really, the worthy of the artiste and the skill in manipulation will only help to make success of the performance. The main important and interesting point was that they created an atmosphere to impress the audience through the puppet expression. But there was no facial expression or expression. The method of introducing the Ketigadu and Bagaraka was in a dramatic way, i.e. the performers announced that they were going to invite Ketigadu and Bangaraka. The performer involved now and then and was announcing about ongoing story in coming puppets. They introduced Bangaraka puppet like a dignified middle family, and they described about the character. Bangaraka invited Ketigadu by calling him as Oromogulu, means O man. This calling method is very relevant to the middle-class family women in villages who calls her husbands. The expression was created through the dialogue modulation. When Ketigadu came to the screen, Bangaraka used to pay the respect with namaskars. The colloquial word used for this expression was Mogulaku Dandalandi. Ketigadu also used to do namaskarams to Bangaraka with bending of his waist and head, using the words Bariagaraki Vei Dandalu means 1,000 times namaskaras to his wife. It remembered the shrewd wife and troubled husband, and the page 259. Scene was created good expression through sweet dialogue delivery and similar to the staged scene. Then Rama, Lakshmana, and Sita were introduced by dancing. Usually dancing scene were followed by singing. Manipulation in the dancing was very interesting, and each scene introduces a variety to bring out facial. Mainly the dialogue or song or verse will be used to create an expression for a puppet along with small dancing and action, etc. When the golden deer appeared, that deer was manipulated like an animal moving. They showed their skill in this scene because there was no word or dialogue or song or dancing situations. The method of asking of Sita for golden deer indicates a common woman voice at her husband, i.e. the expression of her desire with an order mixed by closeness. The action and expression appeared in that Sita puppet in asking for her desire was designed as a romantic scene by the performer. Really, it reveals the ability in direction in puppet show. Objection of Lakshmana by doubting about the golden deer. Reaction of Rama against Lakshmana. Silence observed by Sita in that scene seems beautifully concluded, and if created eagerness in the audience. When Lakshmana expressed his doubt before Rama about the golden deer as a trick of demon, the actions and movements of Lakshmana were very relevant to the village society. He was talking, bending the waist, suddenly moves here and there, etc., were all the actions of common man. The transformation of deer into demon Maricha was picturized well like modern cinematic way, and the scene itself got the credit through the dialogue. Ha Lakshmana and Ha Sita. The conversation between Sita and Lakshman created. Page 260. Contrast and the puppet were also manipulated to convince the audience up to the mark of the contrast. The scene of Sita scolding Lakshmana was brought to the common people level through conversation and with the power of dialogue delivery in addition to the movements and actions of the puppet manipulation. The contrast was slowly increased, and finally Lakshmana got upset and avoided the dialogues and left. This scene was picturized interestingly, and the skill of manipulation was remarkable. The conversation of inverted the climate into soft and devotional line in the beginning, and the puppet's expression was also impressed the audience. Sita invited Yati into her house to wait. Ravana avoided by telling that the guests should not wait without the owner. Sita believed him as Yati. Yati is an elder, and can be respected by devotion and can be treated equal God. But Ravana, Yati, told her that even guest and the men of outers should not stay at home without owners. If he is Yati, he should obey the request of the host. The origin for the next scene was introduced as a seed, that he told himself as Parapurusha, and it indicates to the audience that he has some opinion about her in his mind. This small twisting dialogues increased the contrast and turned the climate from soft to vigorous slowly. This contrast was revealed through sarcastic dialogues and then direct dialogue. Sita reacted sharply on Yati's words and questioned how dare he was. Then 10-headed Ravana puppet was introduced. The entry of the puppet was very peculiar, and all the instruments were operated in high pitch along with high beatings of dapu. All the artistes in the stage laughed at once loudly to support the vigorosity of Ravana character. The scene alerted the audience in creating the eagerness, anxiety, and enthusiasm to observe the Ravana puppet. The manipulation of Ravana transformed into the vigorous climate, and the sounds were produced by all the artistes along with the Page 261. Govindu clearly appeared as dominating the situation. They used to create the sounds ha ha sounds, and worked out for the success of the performance. The manipulation of the Ravana puppet in different situations was a skillful job, and the total scene relating to Ravana was attracted by the audience. The expressions in the conversation in between Ravana and Jatayuvu strengthened the performance. That scene appeared as action-oriented due to the sounds produced during the war incident. Jatayuvu and the 10-headed Ravana both were the big-size puppets, and sounds of war like hello, ho, hello, ha represented equally for both the puppets, and the action was very perfect. There was no difference appeared in between them and showed the war-occupied total scene and became the cause generated in the audience for shoutings and whistles. In the scene of Rama and Lakshmana meeting with Jatayuvu, The sorrowful situation was created and manipulation maintained as a bridge. While Jatayuvu was explaining Sita's whereabouts, all the percussion instruments were kept silent to notify the seriousness of the scene. Though Jatayuvu was shown equal to the height of Ravana at fight, before Rama, with feathers cut, he shone small before Rama, which showed the timeliness and appropriateness. Before Rama and Lakshmana, smaller puppet of Hanuman was shown, and this was similar to that of a real monkey, creating humor. To attract the viewer, this Hanuman leaped too. But puppet of Hanuman shown in the Durbar of Sugriva was big and also dominating others, including the King Sugriva. Viewers will easily come to know the courage and vigor of Hanuman by seeing the puppet itself. Puppet of page 262. Hanuma shown before Rama, did pranam to Rama after knowing his greatness. Viewers felt happy and began to laugh while looking at his obedience. But in Durbar of Sugriva, Hanuman was shown equal to Rama and Lakshmana, and the action of all the characters was equivalent. During the fight between Vali and Sugriva, the puppeteer's skillful shows was enjoyed by each and everybody. That fight was fully shown equal to that of the real fight, and the viewers felt that the puppets may get Tom out in that severe fight. That manifests the fine handling of the puppeteers. Hanuman, while trying to cross the sea, was shown as a Lilliput. Before Lankini, also small puppet was shown depicting Hanuman. Dialogue and fight between both of them created humor in audience. Ketigadu entered into the scene, and some filthy dialogues were there between of them to break the monotony. Here the puppeteers created difference Lankini and Hanuman in intellect. The puppet of Ravan, while talking to Sita, was shown with only one head. Though it was very attractive, it lost its importance before the characterization of Sita. Mandodari, wife of Ravana, alerted Ravana about the approaching of danger to him through Sita, while screening danced according to rhythm, and it attracted the sympathy of viewers. Hanuman's fighting with three demons in Ashokavana was more felt by them as fight between a noble character with three cruelties. While giving Rama's ring to Sita by Hanuman, no instruments were used. Ravan's son Meghanada was also shown as a generous and illustrious character. Page 263. Ravana's younger brother Vibhishana advised him not to go for enmity with Rama, but it went in vain. Here the puppet of Vibhishana dominated the puppet of Ravana with its general nature. He also advised Ravana not to kill Hanuman but to give him punishment. With all these noble characteristics, Vibhishana's puppet was shown a little bit bigger than Ravana. When it was asked to why Vibhishana puppet dominated, elder brother's puppet, one of the puppeteers, Romappa, answered very logically. He told diplomatically that it was because of his virtuous characteristics. In Sundarakanda in Ramayana, Hanuman sets fire to the wealthy city Lanka in answer to punishment given by Ravana. In this puppet show, this particular scene looked like the Lanka city really burning away. A small stick enrolled with cloth dipped in kerosene was shown as the tail of Hanuman setting fire to the building of Lanka. Hanuman's puppet turned around the screen here and there so actively that the viewers felt the real burning of Lanka. This scene also gained the attention of the viewers. With Lanka Dahanam, the puppet show came to an end and all the puppets were taken away from the scene. The last item of the show was auspicious prayer. On the whole, more care was taken showing the characters in different occasions, the changing of voices for some character in different moods with expressions like Hanuman before Rama, before Sugriva, before Ravana, and in fighting scenes with demons. Puppets of Rama and Lakshmana also differed. While talking to Hanuman in forest on the way to Kishkinda and while fighting with Ravana in Lanka. Puppet of Ravana with 10 heads was shown with all its cruelty while abducting Sita. At the other place it was only with 1 head. Page 264. Music was used according to the situation. Percussion instruments dominated the dialogues in the abduction of Sita, to show the seriousness of the context. One of the important point noteworthy is that the percussion instruments were used according to the characters appearing on the screen. All the important characters in the play were having dialogues, songs, and poetic expressions except small characters like servants. For humorous characters, mostly songs and prose was there instead of poetic expressions. With all these specialties, the puppet show attracted the viewers with its skill characterization and dialogue delivery. 411. Role of musical instruments. Musical instruments used in this puppet show are the cymbals, madala tokudubala, dapu, and the bells. 2 big bronze plates with 4 inches width are called talalu, i.e. cymbals, center point of which will be with protuberance with a hole. Through these holes, rope will be there for handling them with thumb and forefinger. The right hand will hold the tala and it will be striked on the tala kept in left hand, with which more sound is produced. Aditala with 8 matras is used mostly in all ragas and songs. In the first pitch tayaku sound was used mostly. Tatadia, tatadai tatadia and terigidadim. Terigidadim sound was used in second speed. 3 strokes tala was used in first speed. Each and every song or poetic expression started in first pitch and ended in second pitch. In all occasions use of. Page 265. Tala was inevitable. Harmonium was used throughout the play, except in dialogues. Dapu was used mostly in fighting scenes, with the support of tala. This was dominantly used with the characters of arrogance like Hanuman, Ravana, and Lankini. Even before the show, dapu was used as an instrument of intimation to the villagers about the play. Again, dapu was used during the play in the very beginning to make viewers alert. As Bangaraka, Ganapati, and Saraswathi entered the screen, dapu was used vigorously to attract the villagers, not yet come to see the show. On the whole, dapu was used throughout the puppet show. Madela, otherwise called mridangam, is the wooden pipe with a foot width closed with leather at both sides. This will be tightened with threads. In between the pipe and threads, 2 inches wooden pieces will be kept to correct the srutis. This percussion instrument gave the sound of dimitter, 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 and dimmi dimmi datta. Madela was used, always along with cymbals in songs and poetic expressions. This was not used in conversations. During fighting scene and the entry of Bangaraka, Sarawati, Hanuma, Ravana, and Lankini, this instrument was used very predominantly. Tokudubala was used according to cymbals during dances. In fighting scenes also it was used without talalu and madela. On whole, musical instruments added naturally an expression to all the scenes, and they lead main role throughout the puppet show. Page 266. 4.12. Introducing humorous characters. Puppet show without humorous characters will not be delightful. By taking the name of puppet show itself, everybody remember the names of Bangaraka and Ketigadu, small characters of puppet show, who boast of themselves, will be made fun of by Ketigadu. Along with Bangaraka, he will also be introduced in between two serious scenes, to keep interest live in the play. To praise the people who donate for the puppet show and also to deprive them who don't donate at all, these two characters are used. People who are fond of appraisals, donate more and satisfy their egos through Ketigadu. Usually in puppet shows, 3 male and 1 female characters will be there to do this business, and their names will be fixed, according to the will and wish of the puppeteer, like Kasa Kasa Buddha Ketigadu, Buddha Ketigadu, Jutta Palugadu, and so on. Additional characters will be introduced as their sons-in-law or brother or son, namely, Thanatuni, Chinna Ketigadu, Bampadrigadu and so on, and negative characters by name, Alatapa or Sadagalenadu etc. in some puppet shows. Bangaraka and Gandaligadu are introduced as wife and husband. In some puppet shows, Bangaraka will be introduced first, whereas Ketigadu will come first in some other puppet shows. Like his Ketigadu has come with both on forehead, he has come to see the puppet show here. Page 267. Sutradhara thanks the Koronom, village clerk or accountant, first, and Palugadu greets him. The Sutradhara bids thanks to the viewers who came to see the puppet show, including children, and Ketigadu also greets all of them when Sutradhara accuses the people who have not yet given donation to the puppeteers. Ketigadu insults them by showing the drawing of penis being shown on the screen. He also take the reference of the people of the neighboring village, who could not keep the promise of donating money to them. This reference gives caution to the people of present village who have not donated money till them. In some other puppet shows, Bangaraka introduced prior to Ketigadu, like this. Bangaraka is coming with looks charming, in silk blouse and blue saree, and neat make-up. After this song with action the dialogue starts. Bangaraka, oh, after having this villagers water, my body is itching too much, what to do now? Sutradhara, apply fen and lime together. It will be okay. If we apply fen and lime together we get blisters on body. Bangaraka, no. No need of applying fen and lime for me. They are to be applied to the people who don't know to respect people. Page 268. People who don't know to respect people and artistes like us. Who deceive people. To those who don't give money to us even after our show. The dialogue cautions them who don't respect the puppeteers and those who have not yet given donations to them. The villagers also get frightened with this type of comments. Sutradhara, O Bangaraka? Be it so. Now can you please tell us who is your co-partner now? Bangaraka co-partner today? Why not? He is the most handsome person and he is Jutta Palugadu. The people here may turn hysterical if they see him once. Should I call him here now? Sutradhara, why not? Bangaraka, oh my dear hubbies. Page 269. Sutradhara, hey Bangaraka. There are so many hubbies here that come to see the show. Whom are you calling now? Bangaraka, oh my dear Gandholi. Please come here Gandholi with pungent look and heavy body. With rough hair combed. Please come my dear Gandhuli. Gandhuli enters. Bangaraka, welcome my dear hubby. Palugadu pranams to my dear wife, who has tied sacred thread Tali, in my neck. People say if we knee down before our wives after doing 3 circumambulations, and break the coconut in respect of her, she will give birth to babies thrice a year, like cow, laugh in audience. Meanwhile Bangaraka exists, the entry Chinna Polygadu. Chinna Palugadu, if she takes away her husband whom should I bring here? Palugadu 0 Chinna Polyga. I asked you to bring some people here. You are saying she has stolen away all them? Please make it clear whom you have brought. Chinna Palugadu ready, Koronom, Pada Karpu, all the heads of the village. He takes the names of all the people they have already collected and greets all of them. Polygadu, now let us go now. It's getting late for the puppet show. They exist. Page 270. Having listened to the appraisals from them, people said that some big shots of the villages in good old days had given away lands to Kettigadu altogether excepted from tax and released decrees also on their names. Indranakulam village, belonging to Kumul district, of the officials, had honoured the puppeteers and given away lands on the name Kettigadu too, and now that land is disputes. Dalavai Govindu of Nimalakunta village in Dharmavaram of Ananthapa district described the way they were introducing the characters of Bangaraka in their puppet shows. Now this procedure has become same in all the other folk formats like Vidi Bhagavatam, Chenchu Natakam, Tupu Bhagavatam, Yakshaganam, and Chindu Bhagavatam. While introducing the character of Bangaraka, 2 people hold a cloth as curtain behind which Bangaraka will be there. All the musical instruments like mridangam, tokudubala, drums, and bells sound at once, and she reaches between the screen. The Sutradhara starts her introduction. Sutradhara, now we are going to introduce co-artiste, yes please. Sutradhara, lady from the eastern parts of our street, co-artiste, yes please. Sutradhara, whose name is Bangaraka, co-artiste, yes please. Sutradhara with hair neatly combed, co-artiste, yes please. Sutrakalhara with flowers on her tuft, co-artiste, yes please. Page 271. Sutradhara, a wanton with beautiful buttocks, she is co-artiste, yes please. The dupu and the other percussion instruments will be played vigorously at the time of Bangaraka's entrance. Dalavai Govindu and Romappa also made the entry of Bangaraka like this only. They made the character to sing one song also. Bangaraka, on this torture of separation? I can't bear with it, O God. He is not coming to me at all how to bear with this torture. Sutradhara, alas? At the end of this song all the percussion instruments were played very vigorously as an ending to the song. Rest of the dialogues between Bangaraka, Sutradhara, and Jutta Palugadu and Chinna Palugadu were same as described before, while concluding their dialogue before entering into actual play. The above characters discussed about the present-day society, the folk formats being favored, good and evil psychologies, etc. in humorous way. Afterwards they appraised Dr. Bittu Venkateshwal of Telugu University, Hyderabad, who has arranged their show at Nimalakanta. The actual puppet show started here and continued till the death of Vali and coronation of Sugriva. Again Bangaraka and Gandoligadu entered into screen and started the appraisal of Sri Kodayarao worked hard in getting sanctioned the quarters for their living. Page 272. Gandholigadu used some good similes also in his dialogue, and as he was prolonging his speech the viewers demanded to cut short his speech and to start the show. Bangaraka and Gandholigadu immediately disappeared from the screen and the show started again. During the incident of Hanuman's fighting with a Lankini, Ketigadu was introduced to deprade Lankini in humorous way. Filthy language was also used as a relief to viewers. As Bangaraka entered into scene and beaten Ketigadu, the main show again continued till end. As already described, the humorous characters are introduced during the pitiable situations and violent and war scenes as a relief to the viewers. During the dialogue, the humorous characters crack witty jokes, use filthy languages with the main characters who show of more. 4.13 Viewers' opinion. All the villagers got ready to see the puppet show. On screen Ganesh's puppet and his dance was very attractive. Children sat very near to the screen. Next to them women were seated. As the prayer started, men came slowly and sat behind the ladies. Meanwhile, Goddess Saraswati's puppet came onto the screen and her song was sung by a lady. It was simply superb. As Bangaraka entered the screen scarping her private parts, ladies started smiling. Gandholigadu also entered the screen. Both the characters started dancing. Children enjoyed more seeing their dance, which was handled by children only of the puppeteers' families. After this scene, one Mr. Konda Reddy of the village presented 5 rupees and myself 10 rupees to the page 273. Started the appraisal of Kodayarao, who strongly more to start a society for puppeteers and to provide colonies for them. Elderly people sitting in the audience shouted at them for stopping the main show. Again the puppet show started. Meanwhile some of the ladies stood up to go away due to chilly weather. Lankini stopped Hanuma from entering into Lanka. Here Gandholigadu entered into the scene and made fun of Lankini, a demon of 6 feet height. When he started insulting her in filthy language, Bangaraka entered suddenly into the screen and took away him. During the scene, gents enjoyed the filthy conversation more, whereas ladies felt uneasiness. After dialogue between Mandadari and Ravana, audience demanded for humor. Bangaraka again on screen along with Gandholigadu. They danced together and the romance between them was seen by the lady viewers also, without any hesitation. The puppet show afterwards continued full ending without any interruption, which was enjoyed by all, with utmost interest. The puppeteers arranged the scenes of the show depending upon the audience. If elderly persons are more in the audience, they include more and more poetry pieces in the show and they describe the gist of each and every poetic expression. If the audience is full of youngsters, they include more and more humor with romantic flavor. If more children are there in the audience, They provide entry to Ketigadu and Alatapa again and again to attract them. On the whole, for mixed audience, the puppeteers include humor and romantic scenes in the play. The main aim of the show is to attract more and more audience and to get more and more money in the form of cash or kind. Page 275. 4.14 Performative markers in Telugu puppet show. Any performance in folk tradition has a special identity in its own way in the presentation of performance, expression of ideology, gathering the audience, method of approach towards the donors in the pre-performance and post-performance, etc. Each movement depends upon the style of the groups in getting the success. Every group follows its own style to achieve its goal. Like this way, each group tries to maintain its identity through its style. These identities are fresh still in the minds of the people in the name of those groups. This style can be called as marker of that groups. This marker can be observed in various aspects. This can be identified at the micro level as a troupe marker, performer's marker, charter's marker, marker of music of performances, maker of art form, etc. The folk art forms have separate markers of their own for their identity. In Burakatha, they used to beat the gummets in the beginning up to the gathering of the audience. This is style of Burakatha in gathering the audience. In the story, the main artiste uses the raga Divu Ayayu Eeaa in the concluding of the verses. Vantalu, the side artiste, use the words aha, ohu, oahu, balapale, bola in ending of the chorus. These are all the markers of Burakatha. These may be changed for one troupe to another troupe and one artiste to another artiste. In Ogakatha EE is using as performance marker, 2, EEI, are also using as markers. Before starting the story they use Shanku as their beginning sing. That is also a marker in the Ogakatha. Page 276. In Vidi Natakam they introduce the humor before starting the play. He creates humor in different styles according to their plan. It may be different in another scene, and another play, like this way Aahara Ma, are the sum of markers in leather puppetsau performance. But in total performance different markers can be identified. The performers of Nimala Kunta introduced many markers throughout the performance. A 9-year-old boy followed by 4 boys of same age group wept round the village announcing about the leather puppet show performance with Dapu before 2 hours of the performance. That was their style, and that was also one type of marker. When the first puppet was brought to the screen, all the instruments were beaten including Dapu, and the artistes cried as Namu, Nani.o, Namu. This group activity worked out and the reaction appeared in the audience. This is one style of marker. At the Ganesh puppet introduction the beatings of the instruments in high pitch is a marker. In the Saraswati scene, the performance introduced conversation by the 2 artistes, and at the coming of Saraswati to the screen all the artistes welcomed Saraswati with devotional tone of voice. The word used for that was Sugatam, Swagatam. The voice-raised method was different and that can be treated as marker. Then Romappa introduced Ketigadu and Bangaraka. Romappa was special attraction for that Ketigadu puppet and praised the local people. He mentioned social, financial, historical, cultural issues relevant to the contemporary society. Kettigadu and Bangaraka they themselves were markers for the leather puppet show. The whole performance will be depended upon Kettigadu in the puppet shows. Romapur was a master to manipulate the Kettigadu puppet. If he comes to the stage, the audience remember that he would bring humor through Kettigadu, so page 277. Romapur become a marker for that troupe. If Rama come to the screen, the audience feels happy, and the elders too. The woman i.e., side artiste always sings Vanta raga like as oo, or ah. These oo and ah were the markers in the puppet performances, particularly in ragas. Ravana puppet was always manipulated by Dalavai Govindu of the group. He manipulates at only one incident, mainly i.e. entry of 10-headed Ravana and only one puppet. His vigorous voice, crying, tremendous noise, horror, climate was attracted by the audience at that scene. He was the marker of that puppet only. The troupe members and the audience automatically mention Govindu's name in the 10-headed Ravana puppet. The instruments beatings. In the entry of new scenes were the special attraction, and the method too seems as a marker. The dapu, a drum instrument for the performance, was a nice marker. The entry of villainy characters, Rakshasa, Kettigadu beginning process were welcomed by dapu. In the war scenes, in horror events, in vigorous incidents, the dapu was entertained. The characteristics of those characters were intimated through dapu sounds. That maintenance key role in total performance. So dapu an instrument can be called as marker. Dapu operation itself was performing marker. In the entire drama field the puppet performers only use the wooden pedestal plank as instrumental representative. The sound produced through the plank gives big noise, and it would be useful for the war scenes, to express angry, to reveal sorrowfulness, in dancing events and conversations, and in arguments too. So that it got good name. So, we can take this pedestal plank as a marker in the performance. Page 278. During the Lankini scene, Kettigadu acted as overaction. Kettigadu was a non-textual character and moved with Lankini with romantic feelings, and these are the unequal characters in the performance. The performer came out in the middle of the performance to talk to the audience. The performer mingled with the audience, shared the ideas and raised his problems to solve with them. In this way, the performer mingling with the audience is a new method in the middle of the performance, and it can be counted as market of puppet show performance. The stage itself is a unique, and that is fixed frame anywhere for any troupe. All folk dramas adjust anywhere with the available space for their stage and change the size of the stage and even change the frame too. But in the case of puppetry there is no question of compromising in the size of stage, or frame. This stage is a special marker for the leather puppet theatre throughout India. Like this way we can find out so many times markers throughout the performance. The performative marker can be identified in manipulation of puppets, in the instrumental operations, in the instruments, in the singing, in the dialogue delivery, in the introduction of a character, in the introduction of non-textual characters, in the interaction methods, in the mingling of the artiste with the audience, in the middle of performance and the performer himself praising the audience. These markers give the credit to the performance and help to do success the performance. Page 279. End note. 1. D. Romapur, puppeteer.